one of these spaces right here. And so we could see how much we're gonna spread out. And so in case if you have sandy soil, you can take home some of this and spread it in your garden before you cover crop. The next thing that we're gonna end up doing is we're gonna mix these seeds together. And we got some potions that when we do that process, we'll show you and tell you why we're doing it. And the differences we've seen since we started using stuff like this compared to when we weren't using this stuff. Another side project we have, and so there's multiple different people who are gonna participate in this. We try to be a little more sustainable with things, so we don't want to go and get plastic flags, so we're using bamboo as markers. I want to know if this is important, so raise your hand if you're in like a 4x8 garden at home. You have one of those 4x8 gardens? Okay. Raise your hand if you kind of garden around your borders of your house. Okay. And now raise your hand if you're in containers.
Both.
Okay, a lot of people do containers too. Yeah.
I'm going to be recording video, so if anybody does not want to be on video, you can step to this side and I'll make sure that I don't capture whoever's on that side. Like behind the palm tree. So if you don't want to be on there.
Yeah. So these we use as, when we're doing a little site, we use these as markers a lot of the time. So I guess this is the real question. Raise your hand if you feel like it'd be helpful if this space was marked out in smaller plots, like a 4x8 garden, so you could spread your seeds in. Can you raise your hand if you find that's helpful? Okay, I'd say that's half the people, so we can do that. So if you raised your hand, maybe you'll participate in this side. The whole point of this is we're just gonna stick these in the ground and mark that 4x8 area, and then everyone's gonna get a certain amount of seeds to spread over there and show you different ways to plant them. And you know what, there's a lot of people, so maybe we might do a couple areas 2 or 3 times. We're not really worried about it. You at your home, it's just so you can know how much you're gonna spread at home. Now, what do you, if I can ask something, what do you notice about this plant?
It's a vine.
Leaves are very
It's a vine?
Big
Yeah.
leaves.
Big leaves? Okay, this is a pretty young plant, maybe 3 or 4 weeks old.
Fast growing.
Fast, very fast. Okay, a new example right there, fast growing. All right, so the few things we're looking for when selecting our cover crops, there's a couple goals we're trying to hit. One is organic matter. Can anyone explain what organic matter is for me? Okay, so things that decompose organic matter. Sandy soil doesn't have organic matter in it. Not much at all. That's that white soil. I'm in muckland. You see that? That's black. That's a lot of organic matter. One way we make this so rich is, well, it's kind of our soil type to begin with. Someone's flying in for the class. We're running a little bit late, maybe.
Looking for those people that don't want to be on camera.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, they're looking for the people running that don't want to be on camera. Wait, where's the guy who's filming everyone? He left too. All right. Organic matter. That's one of the things we cover crop for. We want to build our organic matter in the soil. That's why we're going to use the soil conditioner. The other thing we're trying to do is, have you heard us talk about fertilizer?
Yes.
Has anyone heard the term nitrogen fixing?
Yes.
Okay, cool. What that is certain plants pull nitrogen out of the air and they put it into the soil. So we're looking to do that. We're looking to fertilize the ground at the same time. Another thing we do is we're looking to capture nutrients, right? Because what happens in the summertime in South Florida? Hot.
Everything goes
Rain, wet, just like we had yesterday. That's how nutrients disappear. The water washes them all out. And the north is different. It stays in the soil. They have frost, they have cold. A lot of the fertility is held in the soil. In the subtropics and tropics, it's in the plants. It's mostly in the plants. So if we don't cover our soil in the summertime, what do you think's gonna happen?
Nutrients go bye-bye.
Yeah, nutrients go bye-bye, microorganisms go bye-bye. Okay, so what are the 2 things I've said so far?
Nitrogen fixing.
Organic matter and
Nitrogen fixing.
nitrogen fixing, yes. Okay, fertilizer. Nematodes. And no one's really upset about nematodes?
Yes.
Okay, all right, now I'm hearing something. Another reason why we'll cover crop in the summertime. It's not a cure-all, it's one of our tools to help to keep the nematodes away. They're gonna come back. It's just gonna happen. But at least you can start your season off strong and well and not have them come back till later in the year. It's just what's going to happen. So here is a nematode-resistant plant or suppressor. Marigold. What is this? Marigold.
What is it?
Yeah.
Miracle, yeah.
Marigold. Marigold?
Here.
Marigold.
You start passing this one around.
Isn't it a very specific type of marigold though that you need?
Yeah. So there's some marigolds that are more effective than other ones. Do you know about the different ones?
I only heard that the African one is the most effective. Out of my information, you probably know better
Okay,
than I do.
so there's several different types of marigolds out there. It's just like with all these plants. They might say this one's good at nematode suppression, but it's different varieties not as good. So that's why we're very selective. French marigolds are the most effective over a more broad type of nematodes. African marigolds are also really effective against one type of nematode. Don't ask me which ones. That's way too geeky for even me. And if you know it, awesome. I love it. So this is something that you plant in the ground, and it doesn't just kill them. You want to pass it around too, that way everyone gets to feel and see them.
And rub the leaf and smell it, see if you can capture color as well.
So you do a mix of French and African?
Yeah, you can do a mix of French and African. Why not, right? The more diversity, the better with these sort of things. If you're going for one or the other, French marigold is going to be the goal. That's why we got French marigolds then for that reason right now. Okay, so organic matter, nitrogen fixing, nematodes. Anyone got any other guesses? What else would you want to do?
Soil conditioning. Is soil conditioning the overall
Yes.
thing for all
So
of it?
exactly.
Drainage.
So organic matter is conditioning that soil. The fertilizer, the nitrogen is going to help to condition that soil, and the nematodes resistance can help to condition that soil. So what about this? Does anyone have those soils that you put your water down and the water just beads right off? It doesn't absorb it. Okay. So what do you think I'm leading into right now? Moisture retention, water infiltration. When we cover crop or soils, there's certain specific ones that have deep tap roots. I wish I had my mustards. That's one of them. You see this seed here? I want people to come and touch and play with it before they get days over. This is millet. This really helps. It's a grass. This really helps for water infiltration.
Sudan grass does that, right?
The Sudan grass, yeah, most grasses and grains are going to help with that. Who here is trying to get rid of your grass in your lawn? Grass from your lawn. Who's like the anti-grassers people?
No more grass.
No more grass. Okay, no more grass. Okay, so as you go down this road, you'll realize, wow, grass is actually kind of cool. Grass does a lot of cool stuff. Sod, another story, not so cool. The difference between this grass and a sod is this is a clumping grass. It's not a running grass. It has very strong root systems that help to bring mycorrhizae, so mushrooms, fungus, help to create this network in the soil and glue the soil together. So certain grasses in the garden is good. Has anyone ever put down hay? Yeah, hay is a grass. So by growing your own cover crops, you get to grow your own
Hey.
hay, soil, all that stuff. Cool. So who wants to get dirty first as we go over the soil conditioning parts of this? Yeah.
This one right there.
She's pointing at you.
Yeah, he says
Oh,
that.
you did? Okay,
volunteered.
you want to get dirty? All right, cool. I thought she was just throwing you on the bus. All right, so if you're interested in doing that, just step aside by this friend right here. If you want, we just need like 4 people to help him out in total.
Oh, go ahead.
Everyone get to touch these, see these plants so far? So, why would I want to plant a plant and not grow seeds? Any idea? Time, faster. That's why. If you're not the sort of person that has a time to wait an extra 4 weeks for your cover crop to be ready, maybe it's better for you to plant something instead. Also, if you're not the sort of person that can water every single day, because we're going to go over watering today too, then maybe it's better to plant. So it all depends on what you want. I do a mixture of both sometimes when I'm cover cropping. The great thing about this plant, you see that right there? This thing's a beast. It's going to keep on moving and grooving after you plant this in the ground 9 times out of 10. So we'll plant this one here today just to show you. If it doesn't make it, it doesn't make it.
Jason, what's the name of that plant again? I didn't hear.
Yeah, I don't think I even said it too. So that works out good. This is called Jack Bean. Does anyone see the post about Jack and the Beanstalk?
Yeah.
Okay, they left that out. They never told us that Jack and the Beanstalk, 1, you can eat the young peas when you cook them. 2, it also builds better soil, creates more nitrogen in the soil, lots of organic matter, and then the best part about it, it's one of our nematode suppressors. You know, so the whole story is about these giants up there, but they're not even telling us what we get to do down here with our soil. So this is Jack and the Beanstalk. And if you're not sure why it's called that, Danny, Could you grab the 1 gallon Jack and the Beanstalk for everyone to see? And he's gonna pull out why it's called that.
Pardon my ignorance. So when you say nematode suppressor, do you mean just for that plant, or you plant that and it suppresses nematodes from the surroundings?
Awesome question. There is no ignorant questions here. We're all learning today. So yes, this plant here will help to suppress it. It releases certain chemicals in it that keep it away. There's 2 different factors that nematode resistant or suppressant plants work. One, it's not a food source for the nematodes, so they leave. They go looking for a food source. So they're not going to come eat. That's why when we plant tomatoes, there's not a lot of nematodes at first until we keep growing the tomatoes in the same spot, or at the end of the season the nematodes get really bad. Then we see the nematodes. So this is one of the ones that does release a little bit of chemicals, but its big thing too is it's not a food source. They have to leave. Other ones, they think it's a food source, they go to eat it, and they can't digest it and they die. They're not having any food. They're attracted to it, but they don't have it. We have a mustard that I'll have the seeds in tomorrow that has a really good taproot, and it's very nematode suppressant. You can't use every mustard, just like he brought up. Not every single the same plant's gonna work. You can put it on hot dogs. It is a brown mustard. Great question. There you go. Just not your actual hot dog. What's that, Doreen?
Is that the garlic mustard that I got?
No, the garlic mustard's a little different. I don't know the benefits of nematode suppression on that one right there.
So the jack bean is gonna have beans though, right?
It is gonna have beans. Do you want to
Mine
eat?
is like this big already from
So-
3 weeks ago when I bought it from you.
Okay, so how tall is it? It's up to her waist level. This was planted when?
And it was this big
That
when I
was
got it.
Planted from that size? No, from seed. What, 2 weeks ago?
Wow.
2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You see, it's already reaching for the giants. So you don't want to put one of these like your vining beans. What do you think you wouldn't want to put this next to?
I don't know.
House.
Tomatoes, a house. Okay, anything you don't want to climb. It will take over a mango tree, a young trees. Everyone turn behind you. You see that really tall tree? Yeah. Oh yeah, I've had them reach the top of those.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is a very vigorous plant. We keep it in areas where it can't take out our young fruit trees. That's a side note to know about these things.
Can I prune it back?
You can prune it back. That's the
I
whole
put
point.
a tomato cage over it. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's a good thing right there because it's just going to crow over that. If you're trying to cover crop it, you let it run free. Something we're going to go over after we're done doing these exercises is what you're going to do to your vining crops, what you're going to do to your grass crops, and what you're going to do to your broadleaf cover crops. So before the end of the day, don't worry about it now, you're going to learn our recommendations on how to get rid of them. And then when the time comes, you're going to let us know, I don't know what to do, and we'll help you. Let's make sure you know how to get rid of them.
Does it care about grass? Like if you plant it around a bunch of grass, will it just overtake the grass? Like,
Yes and no. You always want to prepare your space. So the question is, does it care about grass? This will smother grass if it's established first. If it's not established first, the grass will fight it. One important thing, cover crops aren't miracles. You can't just put a cover crop down in a bad soil and expect it to like change everything, you know? You're not gonna have a cover crop just change that soil. That's why it's important to amend it first, because you're trying to make a good habitat for that cover crop, and this is gonna take it down that next level. Sweet potato is not the greatest cover crop. It covers the soil, so it acts as a ground cover to protect it from the sun, but it brings in whitefly and other nematodes, and it's a crop. So, are you excited? Like what she asked earlier, these beans you can eat. Your cover crops are not for you. You don't get a double whammer of food out of your cover crop. Why do you think that is?
Not the organic kind.
You're taking. Yeah.
Exactly. You're taking what it's giving, right? So in order for this to produce nitrogen, that nitrogen goes into the beans for you to eat, and then you don't have the nitrogen anymore. It's now in the beans, it's now in the seeds. All the nitrogen that this synthesizes are inside these seeds right here. So you got to chop these down and not eat them. This is a total selfless act to your garden soil. This is not something that you're doing for yourself. You're just giving yourself a couple months to give back to that garden that gives to you every single week when you're growing. So I know you want to eat from it. And if I'm not looking, you probably still can, but just know you're not gonna have as much benefits. This one season, we're not trying to mine. You get what I mean by mine? Every time we reap, we take away. We're no longer cycling nutrients, we flush them down the drain. So we're not recycling our nutrients all the time.
Okay, so again, this might be a dumb question. So
No
what
dumb
we're really talking about here is, like, for instance, if we have a raised bed, this is the time where we would basically take everything out and get the soil enriched, kind of like how what's his name is doing.
Yes.
So that's what we're talking about.
100%. We're talking about enriching the soil for fall plantings right now.
Got it.
So if you've been growing a garden in this all year, you want to stop growing that garden, put that to rest, and then cover crop it. Now, at the end of the class, I'm going to make a couple of recommendations of what can be planted this time of year and how it's a little different than our raised bed gardens. So you'll still have a solution to plant some more food plants, but in your garden you've been growing all year, let's put it to rest. Give it a rest. All right, dirty people, what we need, or soon to be dirty people, sorry if that was offensive at first. So every one of our seed packs and these have the lengths of time he asked for, but how long it takes to get this actual cover crop to work. Plan for 90 days. That's why this class is happening now. If you're trying to plant for September, we're perfect. You could be planting in the beginning of September. Why 90 days? Because you got to grow it. 60 days is the average grow time. But then you need some time for it to start decomposing, for it to die back, to chop it down, so you can plant it again. So we say about 90 days is a good period. We're June. What's 90 days from now? September. Perfect for planting again. Yeah, it's still hot. Still kind of crazy. All right, so we need a wheelbarrow right here. See that whoever's helping out? Can you take some people, sir, to fill up some soil?
What's on?
The soil conditioner. Yeah, you wanna hold it down?
Is this the sun hound?
Typically, we'd make a big deal about this, but this is a total running experience. We're gonna go over these things right now. All right, so folks from we're gonna mark the 4x8 spaces. So two people, one person start right here, one person start.
Excuse me.
Yeah, right on that corner.
Just get them so I can get the thing thinking.
This is how we measure things. We use body parts. You think we're gonna pull out a measuring tape out here in the garden? No. You know, use all these solutions. So learn. At home, get a tape measure. Figure out the length of your hand. Mine's 6 inches. This is 18 inches. This is 12 inches. What I'm showing you now is the farmer's stance. That's about 3 feet. Okay. You're gonna be about 2 feet. You're gonna be about 2.5, 3 feet. So what I want you to do is to put a stick down, and then every 4th step, you're gonna put another stick down. I want you to, every 3rd step, put a stick down, okay? Every 3rd step for you. Every 4th step for you. Yes. Take a full step. Like that. Yeah. Boom, stick down. You don't have to be perfect. Remember, we're just eyeballing this right now. We're marking our edges. Okay, now you other 2 stick holders. One on that side and one on this side. All at the other end. Keep going down till you see the line. Danny can show you. Keep walking down. Show her the end of the line, Danny. Keep going down, down, down. So what the 2 of you are going to do, we're doing 4x8 spaces. So you're going to take 2 large steps in that direction and put a stick down each time you do so. Same thing with you. So you're going to put 1 more stick between those.
Where do you want this wheelbarrow? Right here? Or?
Yeah, right there for now. Perfect. Now the easy part. Ready for the easy part?
Are you going in line with the other?
Yeah. Close enough. We're not trying to get anything perfect right now. Okay, so now what you're gonna do, and what you're gonna do down there, and some of you people that are over there, if you can come around the back side behind me. I want you to notice while you're walking through the garden, just think to yourself, if you walk through the space, what it feels like underneath your feet. Squishy, cool, feels squishy. Where's my other stick givers? Now you're just going to come through and line them up in the middle. You see? You see the intersections? Just make all the intersections like that. You get what you're doing? Now you're going to do one on both sides. See, you're going to eyeball yourself down from here. What was your question?
You're saying, has this already been amended, or is this the way your dirt is?
So the question is, has any of this been amended, or is it just the way the dirt works? If you want to get dirty, just the way the dirt looks, feel this dirt too. You want to, it doesn't hurt to get your hands dirty. That's what we're out here to do. So if you feel comfortable, stick your hands in there.
So this, Yeah, this particular section that you're on right now, I actually threw a lot of mulch, fresh pine bark, tree bark. It was very hardy tree bark and also palm mulch, I would say about 6 to 8 months ago. So once that was here decomposing over time, last week we took the BCS machine, we tilled the soil, and we mixed that mulch that was decomposing with the ground underneath, and that worked as a conditioner for the sandy soil that was already here. It was also a low spot, so when we would get rains, flood, would be here, right next to the garden. So once we raised it, that eliminated that.
So,
So about, I'm sorry,
yeah.
follow up. About how long would it take, if you have like just complete sand, about how long would it take you to grow that soil into something that can actually work?
It depends on your inputs, money, time, energy.
Boom.
Yeah.
That's up.
It really does. So you can buy a truckload of compost and be ready to plant right away. Or you can slowly build your soil. Like I said, it took me about 6 to 8 months to decompose a nice foot of compost. So if you have I would say a year, you can get a lot of organic matter decomposed, and then you have to get something to incorporate that into your native soil so that it mixes well.
And so
I
we'll
would
be
say-
doing a whole workshop on that too, about how to like full focus on getting that soil up, the different ingredients, amendments, compost, and all that stuff. So someone said squishy, right? What are some other observations about the soil if you touched it or see it?
Moisture,
Clump together, it clumps.
clumps, yeah.
Okay, so it's clumps together, but it's not one solid like mud ball. It still has texture to it.
Loosely
Okay, so the soil
clumped.
has texture. So she says we left all the rocks to create air pockets for the roots and the sticks. Yes and no. We kind of like right there's a lot of rocks. That wouldn't be the best garden area. Someone had laid down rocks there before. Over time, we would pull out the bigger rocks because we like to use tools, and sometimes they mess up the tools. It makes it a little harder. Sticks, yes. These sticks are going to help create that texture. It's already mostly broken down. So we notice that it has texture. We notice that it's squishy. What else about it? It's darker compared to places out east, and that is because one of the functions that these cover crops do is what? That's a terrible question.
Organic matter.
Organic matter. She figured out the riddle. Thank you. So by adding organic matter, we get this. When you were standing there, how'd that feel underneath you, underneath your feet?
Harder.
Solid, hard. If you came here last week, this would have. How did this feel?
This
A little
was
softer?
in between soft and hard. It was because of the compost on top. You're gonna get some squishiness, but it was still solid and compacted.
The reason why this happened is something we're going to recommend for you to do to plant your cover crops too, is you want to work your soil a little bit, just like you're seeding anything. So we have a machine that helps us out with it. So we do a lot of this. This fork, the $40 fork, my best friend. I don't want to say where to get it because I usually don't like recommending those stores. There you go. Home Depot.
Yeah.
All the big box stores, and John Mark carries it. So what you're gonna do, we're gonna do this process right now. So yes, this has been amended. This is squishy. Normally when you feel this squishy soil, the last thing you want to do is what I'm doing. Santi, call me out.
Don't step on it.
Like this is it. Like, you know how hard you're gonna work to have good soil? It's gonna be a lifelong process. You're never gonna give up working on it. Every time you walk across your garden bed, what do you think you're doing? Compacting it. So when you compact it, what does that do to it?
Air out.
Eliminates
Air
the
out.
air. Roots
Yeah.
need to breathe, just like we need to breathe. So your goal is to have pathways. You walk in your pathways, don't walk in your garden beds. So this feeling right here, all right, so we grabbed a little bit of soil. This is the ideal texture to get a good cover crop stand in. You don't have to do this, but you're gonna have better success for a cover crop, which is gonna mean a better garden next year, right? If you have a great cover crop, it's gonna be even better for your garden next year. So we got that wheelbarrow full of dirt. Right there. Right behind me? All right.
It's not dirt.
What is it?
What? Soil conditioner.
Soil conditioner. Yeah.
Is it horse poop?
There is some manure in there. It's compost.
Choke out the ugly weeds that are all around anyway?
What's that?
Before you started?
What's that?
Does this cover crop choke out the ugly weeds that are there before you started?
The other thing it does we didn't talk about is it suppresses weeds. because all that organic matter, that biomass.
Weed. Come
So-
on, we just
so
got it
if-
legalized.
If that cover crop is established in a very weedy area, the weeds might take it over. You got to get rid of the weeds first to cover it up. It's a process. That's why it's cleared first. We're not planting directly in the weeds.
Okay.
What I would do though,
What I saw recently was some little flamethrower to burn the weeds, and I
Yeah.
thought, good on you.
Yeah, that doesn't work for grasses.
We don't just hit it with a weed eater and make the roots stronger and make the crop come back again.
yeah, it doesn't work for grasses though, but it can work. All right, so this here, this is the soil conditioner. This is compost. Compost and manure, coconut coir, and it's got 20 different native bacteria, endobacter what that fancy word is. It's the soil biology. It's inoculated with local soil biology to help build your garden up. Because we don't grow plants, we grow soil. You want to help dump this out? Any of my gardeners want to dump this out with me? We can spread it out. I can show you how we're going to work it in before cover cropping. It's going to go in this. Which, is this a good space in the middle? See this 4x4 right here? We're going to spread it out in this 4x4 space.
Thank you.
What is it? Yeah, 4x8 space. Yeah, make 2 to 3 piles if you can. Come forward first. Put it down first and walk forward. It's always much easier. Let's do it together. It's very soft. It's always much easier when you're using a wheelbarrow to work backwards. All right, so make a dump here. Okay, walk back. Does anyone want to help them shred it with this? They're behind you.
I bought a couple of
All right, now do it again. You want to? Can you help just pull it out?
But I was just at University of Supply up in Canada a few weeks ago.
Yeah, you can have it pre-processed because coconuts, I have a hard time just
Break it
pulling
evenly
coconut to be able to
Everything
bring
you need a commercial mulcher.
Okay, so now what we're doing is we're simply just dropping it in our garden beds. This is what we're going to recommend to you. If you have a raised bed that's kind of dropped down a little bit, this is your first step before putting your cover crops down, your soil conditioner. And now we spread it out somewhat evenly.
Yeah, they do it in big quantity. It makes sense to on equipment. And you're not gonna do it with your own blender
No.
or food processor. It's gonna break it. Yeah. Something much stronger.
Yeah, just like it's a cake. So it's always easier, shorter. What's that? Yeah.
I think I'm gonna have to get one of those things.
Actually, don't worry about it.
The one with the green handle.
Yeah.
So typically what's recommended is about, I would say, half an inch of compost in your garden beds. Every season you should be topping it with at least that much so that you can get some organic matter back into your garden.
How about
So
trees?
he said half an inch of compost added every year to your garden. Right? You got that half an inch every year to your garden. Now if you're starting off,
Stuff around trees as well.
Oh yeah, for trees, mulch is the best. Like fresh mulch because it takes longer to decompose and it breaks down into compost. But always feed your trees.
Just for like 5 trees.
What kind?
Incorporate it in. It's not too much, but I would say
Avocado, mango, sun fruit.
yeah. Yeah, so what Santi said is sheet mulching, very labor intensive, but it works. We've done it. It's super labor intensive, but it works amazingly. You can plant it the next year. Okay,
Is
so
it going to harm my mango trees that are already established for 20 years? That's what my question is.
we can talk about that afterwards. We'll be more focused on a one-on-one talk instead of right now. You got the cloth? The bottle is available? No? Danny!
It doesn't particularly fast.
Oh, he's got the claw. That's the best claw in town.
To use for tree branches.
So I want someone else to do this. I work every day. I want to show you what I'm going to do. We're only going to do this one area. So how much of this conditioner would you add into your garden?
Half an inch.
Half an inch. And if you're sandy, you haven't done it before?
4 or 5 inch.
Okay, awesome. Good. So we got 2 tools. I'll show you how we're going to use this fork first, and I want someone to do this with me. It's the great thing to make your soil ready, to clear out any extra weeds.
Let's get your heart rate up a little.
Okay, yeah. You see? Now I'll make it look easy. You see how easy that goes in there? Yeah, good luck with that your first time. Small bites with your foot, pull back, use your legs, dump it. And you just take small bites like that. You don't have to lift up so high. You see I'm just kind of rocking it? That's all you're trying to do. The cover crop will get the rest in there. Anyone want to help me with this? I'll show you another tool. Awesome. This is the more specific tool that we get from a place called Johnny Seeds. One of my favorite tools if you're gardening a lot and don't want to bend down all the time. This we call the chicken claw. It's known as a tine cultivator. No one said anything with the
Right there.
I know, but then it would have been like, duh, no one would have paid attention.
Wait. We need to get a video of that.
We just rock it just like this.
That was
And so
awesome.
this mixes my fertilizer in, this mixes so many things in. It's a great